afternoon and welcome to another Clearwater Jazz Holiday Foundation's Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions. Today's educator is Tyler Wertman, and the topic is Trombone Improvisation, how to use a keyboard. I'm going to be your guest host today. My name is Michael Kernodle, and I just want to remind you, if you have any questions for our educator today, just put it in that chat. And we'll try to reserve some time at the end to answer any questions. And don't forget, if you enjoy today's sessions, you can always go to our website, www.clearwaterjazz.com/education. And we always love great feedback on our sessions. You can email us over at info@clearwaterjazz.com. And be sure to check out the studio archives of our past video sessions at clearwaterjazz.com and education and outreach section. And that is brought to you by our sponsors over there, Blue Water Wealth Management at Stewart Partners and Duke Energy, as well as our Young Lion podcast available wherever you stream. That's brought to you by our friends over there at Marine Max Clearwater. So just search Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions wherever you stream. So Tyler is no visitor to Clearwater Jazz. He's had some great sessions in the past. Just to name a few: basic trombone fundamentals, long tones, and lip slurs. We need plenty of that. Here was another one: scale patterns, practice in alternate positions of trombone. I think he likes to play the trombone. An approach to improvisation on trombone. And how about this one? This was a great one: chord, scale practice, and approaches on the trombone. Just a little bit about Tyler. He is a jazz trombonist and is special to the Clearwater Jazz Holiday outreach programs. And he's been working with us for a while. He's done plenty of those My Journey with Jazz programs. And he's a composer, performer, producer that focuses on jazz and classical styles. He performs with many groups and ensembles, which has taken him on many travels. He's also an adjunct faculty professor of the Music Bauer School of Music in Florida Gulf Coast University. There he's primary director of the FGCU basketball band, and he teaches the FGCU Student Brass Quartet, the Student Jazz Combo 2, and private students. He also does instrumental lessons, and he's assistant instructor for the FGCU Big Band. Wow, he's a busy guy. And Tyler's also an instructor of music at the University of Tampa. He's presently teaching Introduction to Jazz. He received his bachelor's in arts and music from FSU and a master's in music and jazz studies from USF. So Tyler, welcome back. The stage is all yours.
Wow, Mike, thank you. Thank you so much. That was absolutely wonderful introduction. Thank you for our partners as well, and everyone who's joining and or viewing this. Okay. And like you said, today is going to be more trombone talk. It never gets old with me. And the core focus that we're going to be discussing is improvisation, as always. But something else that I wanted to discuss is how we could utilize a keyboard or a piano, or even something as small as this at home. Don't feel, or it does not require an 88 keyed, Steinway to practice some basic keyboard fundamental skills that can aid us in jazz improvisation. And I think that's really important. A lot of players and a lot of students that I see, they might not even start by approaching a keyboard such as this for writing, composing, or even improvisation practice. And these things are fairly cheap, under $100. And if we can practice for a non-pianist, an understanding of chords and harmony in any other way besides the trombone, it's going to aid us. Okay. And this does not just imply for the trombone. This is any horn player. Okay. So trumpet, saxophones, flutes, you name it. Okay, and even pianists, okay, they play crazy other instruments, right? Vocoders, and they're trying to get their hands on other things as well, as should horn players. I'm a strong believer that any strength and harmony that we can achieve in any instrument is going to greaten our understanding on the horn. So in this case, I have my tenor trombone here, and I have my keyboard off to the side. I'm not going to play my Akai. In this model here is the LPK 25. I highly recommend this small keyboard for composing on the go. Okay, it fits in your backpack here. You can plug it into any software that you have. It's MIDI capable just with the USB. And you can actually hear these pitches with earbuds or any audible device. So with my keyboard, we have obviously a complete pitch, okay, that the trombone cannot achieve. Okay, we're playing two notes at the same time. We can do multiphonics, things like this. But having a piano here strengthens that clarity more so than we could ever achieve on the horn. Now, what are some things that we could use the piano for in jazz improvisation or just in practice in general? Well, like I said before, it's a lot of harmony. Okay, jazz has a lot of scales. Okay, there's quite a bit of theory involved into understanding how to play jazz solo. And I know it can be scary at times, but we have to start slow. Okay, do not jump into giant steps. Okay, baby steps first. So think about what we do in our solo. Okay, we're playing over chord changes. All right, so the chords do change. So we need to know not only what chords we're changing to, but what are our guide tones? Okay, so what are our thirds and our sevenths of every chord here? Now, I don't know about you, but I cannot play the root, third, and seventh on every chord at the same time on trombone. It's tough. If you can, man, that is absolutely awesome. But for us humans, okay, we cannot simply play all of these notes. This is why a keyboard can come in to play. So, well, let me give you an example here. So by playing the root, third, and seventh, let's just use a blues progression. Okay, we can hear just about all of the harmony in these chords. All right, so 1, 2, ready, and. Okay, so already off the bat, what am I playing? Root, third, and seventh. So this tells me great guide tones. Now, something else to keep in mind are notes to avoid. Okay, so it might not be wise to always play, okay, maybe notes that are half steps apart all of the time from those notes. Okay, for instance, you might not want to play a major seventh over a F7 chord. You'll get a sound like this. And if you hear this, it's not the most desirable sound. If you want a half step, maybe look in the other direction, found on the 13. Okay, now this is a much better rub, okay, a rub that we can achieve on the horn. And then from here, we can find, or side slipping, or connecting tones, okay, chromatic passing tones, as you might have heard me play at the end. Okay, so I did play that note that I said I shouldn't play, but I played it into a note that is correct over that dominant chord. Okay, so by playing just the root, third, and seventh, you can get an understanding not only of the chord, the guide tones, but also notes to avoid. And then from this build on top of your sound, okay, as you heard me play by using the 13, okay, from the 13 up to the dominant seventh, I connected another chromatic passing tone to the 5 by utilizing the tritone B natural to the 13 up to the 5. Okay, and I'm playing this in F. This is concert F. And by understanding the piano's role here, I can clearly hear everything. Okay, it's unlike the trombone. I have all this room. And that's all me trying to play A. Okay, so by performing it on the piano or keyboard, that sound is transferred to my ear directly. This is crucial. Okay, why is this crucial? Because now I hear that A that I just played to you. It's blaring in my ear. A, and it's not blaring what I played before on the trombone, the A, where it's all over the place. Okay, because of that piano pitch that's instantaneous and direct, I now have a guide for my horn. Okay, so this is going to strengthen my accuracy on the instrument. Okay, and not only strengthen my accuracy, but I'll be able to sing in my head more closely, okay, to exactly what I'm thinking, maybe theoretically. Like I said before, playing a line from the root walking down to the dominant seventh. And then we can build on top of that. Okay. And again, this is just from utilizing the root, third, and seventh. Okay. So I started very, very, very slow, and I worked into these later ideas. Okay. But it's important to start slow. I cannot recommend that enough. I have students that I've taught even as recent as a few weeks ago that are in college, and we will try things for the first time, and they'll start counting themselves off, and I have them count themselves off to establish their tempo before they play. And I'll tell them, hey, let's do something kind of medium just to look at it. Oh, okay. And they always count it off too fast. Okay. Now, when you're first learning something, it's really important to approach it at a tempo where it's almost impossible. Okay. And this is only if you have time. But so it's nearly impossible to make a mistake. Okay. You want to play this as slow or as quickly as you can without making any mistakes. Okay. But no quicker than that. Don't cheat yourself. Don't lie to yourself. And keep track of this as well. I recommend to my students, just like Paul McKee and Nick Finzer recommended to me, that we should keep track of our practice in a practice log or practice journal. Okay, this can be done simply with a composition book. They make tons of great practice logs, and Nick Finzer has his own practice log that you can get, and it has dates, all of those things as well. But still, date your practice and also mark your tempos. This is very important to keep track, okay, going forward for your improvisation. Okay, how quickly were you able to practice maybe your dominant seventh scales, okay, all 12 consistently? Okay, and then can you bump that up maybe 5 BPM next week? But if you're not running those things down, you're kind of just practicing your scales over and over. Yeah, I kind of play them quick. Yeah, oh no, I can play them real fast. Oh, how fast could you play all 12? This fast? Well, how fast is that? Okay, we need to be very accurate about our practice and honest with ourselves as well. Okay, so now during a blues, okay, like I said, we were practicing our 1, 3, and 7th. We need to approach notes that, like I said, that crunch. Okay, so we have that 13 against the dominant 7th, right? And that's natural harmony. And so why do we need this? Well, it's tension. Okay, so tension and release is big in music and improvisation, actually. So it's important to always, build tension somehow and then resolve. Okay, so like I just played. Okay, and that's sort of resolving to the 3rd of F. Okay, we were building through this harmony, okay, maybe this chromatic harmony from 13 to 7th, sharp 11 to 5 to the 3rd. Okay, now we can clearly hear that F7 because we're landing on our 3rd. Okay. And remember, with improvisation, it's always important to outline our chords. Now, I'm not telling you to outline every single chord because that's a common misconception, especially for younger jazz students. But when you end, okay, an idea, a phrase, things like this, if you want to outline the harmony of a chord, well, do not end on the 5th. Okay, or do not end on the root. That tells you absolutely nothing about harmony. Okay, what does tell you about the harmony? Well, the 3rd and the 7th can tell you an awful lot about harmony. Trust me, you're gonna probably be sick about those 2 numbers by the end of the class here. But I'm telling you guys, the 3rd and the 7th, in terms of outlining the chord, are the 2 most important notes found in our scale. Okay, and being a trombone player who can't play 1,000 billion notes like some of the other instruments, we need to be very thoughtful about the notes that we do play. Now, this means resolving our phrases on these great tendency tones, guide tones, okay, and maybe not slipping and ending on some of these notes that we need to avoid. Now, understand, like I said before, I made that note that we shouldn't play work. And that's the beauty of jazz. You can make really anything work with tension and release. Okay, that principle that we just talked about just a bit ago here. Mike, do we have any questions?
Yeah, the 3rd and the 7th. Why are they so important for that harmony that you mentioned? So we don't like the 5th. Is it just because it's boring, it's bland? And what is it about that 3rd 7 that makes it feel real good? Now I hear about the 9th sometimes too.
Okay, so you're going a little higher. So man, the 9th is a great color. I love using the 9 as a little decoration. Okay, and I use these terms as you do, 9th, 13th, these extensions of the harmony. I view them as colors, okay, and each interval, okay, the root, the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, 9th, 11th, and 13th, each have a different color to the chord, and it's up to you as the improviser, right, to kind of choose which notes or which colors you want to play. And again, maybe you looked up the 21 best licks of jazz of all time, and that's all you can play, and that's cool. Okay, but at the same time, we need to understand what you are playing and build upon that. Now, the 5th is very tonal. Okay, so if we have the root in our fifth, we'll get a kind of a drone sound. And not that that sound isn't nice, because it's very wholesome. It's a strong sound, and it tells you, in essence, the core of our chord. Now, the third and the seventh actually provide some color to that block, if that makes sense. So let me rephrase. The fifth, in my opinion, in the root are sort of, if you're into pottery or plants, right? It's that bottom pot that holds our flour or soil. Okay, now the third and the seventh, that might be the soil for our chord. Now, let me kind of give you an example here. So the root in the fifth, that is holding, that's that flower pot, that orange flower pot. Now we're going to add the third and the seventh. Play the third lower. So now we have something to build on. Okay, now that's just the root, third, fifth, and seventh. That's a dominant seventh chord. Okay, but now let's add that 9 that you're talking about on top. Okay, we get a sound like this. And already you can hear that 9 on top going down against everything. So that 9 is another color then that builds on top of the other qualities below it. Okay, so by understanding through scale practice, okay, your roots, all of these intervals, you should get familiar with these intervals as well. Right? The sound of the fifth, the sound of the third, the sound of the ninth, the sound of the dominant seventh, sound of the major seventh. Okay, I almost equate this to how a vocalist practices, right? They need to isolate all of these intervals so that they can hear these intervals, within their head, so that when they're playing a spontaneous solo, it's how do I explain this? It's exactly what they're interpreting. Okay, there's no missed correlation with what they're singing to what they're playing, because what they're singing is completely understood. Okay, and that's very important. Now, if you're just going to play the fifth, you can do that. Okay, you can build a lot of tension. Okay, just with that fifth and just by playing ideas around that fifth. But understand that just by playing that fifth, that doesn't really describe the harmony of the chord that's going on. And that's okay. You might be playing something very rhythmic for energy. Okay. And that's absolutely awesome. I love, we've heard Freddie Hubbard do things like this, right? No one's can play, oh, he's not playing the harmony. No, it's a give and take thing, just like I was referring to with tension and release. But it's important to know when to play the 5, like you're saying, and when to maybe resolve to the 3rd or the 7th.
Great explanation. I like how you use the colors. That's a great way to look at that. And you mentioned doing singing and using your keyboard. How much time do you put into, singing different chord structures or even improvisation? How important is that to you as an instrumentalist, as a trombonist, as a soloist, to be able to sing what you hear in your head? Is that important to you as well?
Absolutely. It's actually the most important thing. If we, get down to brass tacks, that's the goal of every great jazz improviser, is to play exactly what they can hear and interpret, in their head onto their horn in an instant. There's no wait time. There's no, oh wait, how do I do this? It's an exact correlation. What they're singing in their head, so to speak, comes out of the bell of their instrument. Now, being able to clearly sing is just, well, clearly sing pitches, right? It goes hand in hand with this concept. If we're not clearly hearing these tones, these melodies, how are we going to play these things on our horn, besides just muscle memory 1,000 times on lick number 34 for minor 2/5, right? So we need to sort of understand how to get there.
So my question, even for seasoned musicians, what do you think blocks that the most? Not being able to get out what's in your head. I always hear about Louis Armstrong was that guy that could just play any idea that came to his mind. It wasn't a block or any restrictions. Is it technique, or could it be fear for some musicians that they're not going to hit it exactly how they want to? What would you say is the answer with that?
It's yeah, absolutely. It's technique, first of all, understanding of the music, and confidence in yourself, that you're going to play that line that you hear, and not, an approach. You mentioned playing scared. It's very easy as a soloist to go back into your bag, so to speak. And I use this with my students all the time. When I hear them not playing scared, well, that can also happen, but when maybe they're not playing as inventive as they possibly could. Okay. And maybe, you've played for a 4-hour gig and this is like the last song and you're tired. I get it. So those times are going to happen. But what if you're premiering on a jazz festival? Okay, one such as the Clearwater Jazz Holiday Festival. If you have a solo, right, and the mic's in your face and you're in front of a crowd of people, you want to be as creative and inventive as possible, and you don't want to go to this bag, so to speak. And so what does this require? Yes, confidence, like we just said, technique, and an understanding of the music, okay? Not to play scared. One question that I asked one of my students at USF before his recital is, what are you trying to achieve from this piece of music that you're playing? And so he played mostly classical repertoire, but he played he played a Lullaby Birdland with the trombone quintet over there, and they played wonderfully. And so this is actually with the classical piece, but it's about intention at the end of the day with any music that you're playing. What are you trying to get out of it? Are you just trying to play all of the notes correctly? Well, if so, great job, but this is not an accuracy test, right? We're listening for emotion. We're listening for intent. We're listening for how hard you can swing, right? How creative your ideas are. If you're listening to the rhythm section, all of these things. And so you need to step up to the plate sometimes, so to speak. And that's the fun of it, right? Give it your best shot, learn, because you might be surprised. You might be the heaviest cat in the room, so to speak, at the end of the day. And that's such a great feeling when you try and you put your best foot forward and you succeed, rather than you just kind of play what you always have, and maybe you weren't as confident, and it's really easy to go down that road as well. But that's why we have to stay on that, foot on the gas.
Yeah, and everything that you're saying, it just, backs up that this music is a journey. Every recording is a snapshot of where you were at that time in time. That's how I played. That's what I was thinking. Now, 10 years ago, 10 years later, you're like, okay, man, I'm in a different place. I've experienced some more life and I put it in my music and I can hear the growth. So I'm glad you said that. You know, what are you trying to achieve? It's not all about how many notes you play or how do you use the notes that you have, how effective they can be. That is awesome. I really enjoyed that. So
That's it.
that is it. I think you hit it on the head. You know, whether you're a seasoned musician or a beginner, I think we can all take something from this session and add it to our playing. Did you want to play anything else for us, or are we going to ride out right here? We're going to swing.
Yeah, I could play I'll take 2 choruses out.
Okay. Take it on home, Doctor. Well, you know, I couldn't think of a better way to go ahead and end today's session, but some great playing from the great Tyler Wertman.
Man, I wish you could take a chorus right after me, man.
I wish I could, you know. I don't have any trumpets, but I could probably scat a little bit, but I don't know if you want to hear that today. Maybe on the next one. That'll be the part 2, skibbity doo. We'll do that. All right.
Oh, please.
So I want to thank everyone who joined us here today. And I hope you will go and tell other people all the great teachings and great stories you hear here on Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions. And don't forget, if you have any suggestions or if you want to just tell us how much you're enjoying it, email us at info@clearwaterjazz.com and check out our sessions that are coming up at www.clearwaterjazz.com/education. We want to thank you for joining us today, and we're going to see you on the next one. Keep swinging, everyone. Bye-bye.